Very warm welcome to Mining Indaba 2025. And with me, I have Sunny Palmar, who's Managing Director of Piésold, Botswana. Sunny, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for allowing us to come and talk to you today. Appreciate it.
Okay. Now, Sunny, the key theme at this year's Mining Indaba is future-proofing African mining today. Talk to me about the role that Piésold plays in ensuring that we can indeed future-proof African mining.
I think if you look at where we've come from decades of mining in Africa, I think one of the big changes that you've seen in the last 10 years or so is the capacity that we've had developed within Africa to do work for ourselves, by our own people. I think the universities have all caught up. There's a lot more graduates available in the country, in each of our countries of operations, where we're hiring local talent, developing local talent to meet the needs of the Africa that's now, with its current state, with its current demands, and preparing them for what's coming in the future.
Okay. Now, Sonny, obviously, with Africa growing rapidly, there's also a need for capacity building, and that is becoming more critical than ever. How can industry leaders and partners ensure that long-term skills development and also the infrastructure to support the mining sector's expansion?
Right. So I think, there's a lot of regulatory involvement from organizations such as EXIM in South Africa. There's a ERB in Botswana. There's similar organizations like that all over Africa that are offering CPD points for courses and encouraging students, well, not just students, engineers and people in the industry to continually learn on projects. Sorry, not just on projects, but continually learn on everything that we're doing, all the infrastructure that we're developing, all the new technologies, keeping ourselves up to date with it. A conference like this, it's a good example of how everybody is brought to speed with what's currently in the market, either in terms of new technology, better LiDAR service, for example, for mines, the new equipment. This is all rapidly changing, and we're all coming into these events with an open mind. We're sharing ideas and learning how to collaborate with each other. So that's that. As the industries come together and realize that we have to rise up and share these ideas so we can improve the way we undertake mining operations in Africa. Over and above that, as individual companies like ourselves, we spend a lot of money and time and effort in educating our staff and allowing them to go forces wherever they are in the world that they feel that it's relevant. You bring back the skills, bring back the knowledge that we need to improve the way we deliver our services in the African sphere and deliver our projects better wherever we are.
Absolutely. Now, Sonny, just a few months ago, I remember we chatted and you said, I know what Africa needs because I'm a product of Africa. Talk to me about the importance of the localization of skills in countries like Botswana, South Africa, and also even the SADC region.
I think it's it's very interesting because I've worked in South Africa and I've worked in Botswana. And there is a lot of value that you get where you stay in the same environment that you've actually studied. Your contacts grow with you and you grow together and you change the industry together. And that's actually been very useful for me in my career. When I worked in a different country, you had to rebuild those connections, rebuild those contacts. But when you were in the country where you were growing up or where you were born, adding value becomes a lot more easier. You know what you were struggling with as a child. You know what your dads and your moms were complaining about as kids. And you know what problems you need to fix in your backyard. And that's a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to get that support because you now have friends and colleagues who are decision makers, who are role players in the industry. And together, I think we're able to make a bigger change.
Absolutely. Now, another major talking point over the last few years is ESG, sustainability, and more responsible mining. Tell me, what practices is Piésold adopting to help companies meet ESG standards? And how can consultant companies such as yours help to achieve mining companies' ESG goals?
Paul, a good example is the GISTM standard. This is which is a new tailing standard that we are all following. And it's something that's been rolled out, and then over the last 5 years, where all the mines are expected to comply to. And it's actually improving how tailings dams are managed, improving the way we analyze how dam breaks happen and who the affected communities are, reaching out to them, making them aware, moving communities where we can, reducing the risk on our projects. That's something that we have done in order to improve the lives of the stakeholders affected by these projects. Over and above that, beyond just tailings, there is groundwater monitoring. We are very conscious of what impacts mining activity has on groundwater, encouraging clients to do the right thing, reduce their environmental footprint, treat water where possible, reduce the release of pollutants into the environment. All of these are added steps that we have introduced as a community trying to improve the ESG standards. And we as Knight Piésold, we are key role players with all our partners doing mining work in Africa.
Now, I want to move on to investment. And financing remains a major challenge for many African mining projects. How can consultants and also engineers help to de-risk projects in order to attract more investment, especially from those with a strong ESG focus?
Well, I think we forget what the cost of mining really is. We forget to consider the full impact, the full spectrum of impact for a mining project. And a lot of the times, a client entering an environment where he has not done his entire study, he hasn't collected all the information on the ground, he doesn't know what the community requirements are, what the environmental requirements are, what the legislative requirements are. These are no-goes. These are places where mines get stuck and they're not able to get their project off the ground for many, many years. Or if they do get off the ground and they realize a few years later that maybe their structures are poorly designed and they need a lot more maintenance, it can actually cause the projects to fail. We have had instances where mining clients who've not really planned out where they're going to get the electricity from and had to rely on diesel generators. They have actually gone bankrupt because the cost of diesel became so onerous that they couldn't continue staying in operation. And I'm sure in South Africa, you guys have had a lot of examples of where power has been a big constraint, and that's a big risk that we don't plan for. Is there enough backup power for you on your sites? In remote places in Africa, we've actually had clients who are struggling with finding power, and we have found them solutions where they can build a hydropower plant next to their mine, so they could use a hydropower to generate power for the mine and then supply the rest of the community with excess power. This actually creates a better bond between the mine and the community, and it actually reduces the chances of this mine being bankrupt because of this one constraint of power, when there's many more like that. Poor engineering studies right up front have been a major setback for many mining organizations here. Not getting all the studies right up front, not getting the environmental side right. All these risks have to be taken care of. And this is what Knight Piésold has done for the longest time. Helped open those bottlenecks for the clients, made it easier for them to invest and reduce the risk that they are carrying, so that they can actually carry on with a lot of confidence to the investors that they know what they're doing, they've got the right partners, and they can actually carry their projects forward and make a profit in the end.
Okay. Now, Sunny, let's circle back to the theme of this year's mining Indaba, which is future-proofing African mining. If there was one thing that we could do to ensure this, what would it be?
It's got to be capacity building. We have to look after our people. The human resources in Africa is your biggest asset. I mean, money can be found anywhere, I suppose. Anybody will invest as long as the project's going to be profitable there. But the oil price is going up. Everybody wants to start a new mine. But if you don't take care of your people, if you do not take care of the communities in which you're working, if you don't hire locally, you hire from far reaches of the world, you bring the skills in to do the work, and you do not get the buy-in from your stakeholders in and around your community, I do not see how the mining industry will continue to thrive in Africa. For it to thrive, there has to be that partnership with the local community. There has to be the collaboration with the local knowledge and the local companies, local organizations. They can actually make the mining reality for those communities and societies. And that's how we will future-proof mining for Africa. I think it's through the people, through the communities in which we work, and through capacity building.
Absolutely.